Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of Rendezvous with Anza Saqib on CxO Global TV. CxO Global Forum is a knowledge sharing platform for all C levels across the globe. But now it's evolved more than just being a knowledge platform, but also a league of these extraordinary thought leaders who are not only domain experts, but those key individuals that are now engaged in policy recommendations and internationalization. Today, as well, we've got a very special gentleman with us. His name is Mr. Abbas Ali Mirza. He is the CEO of Relacom. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me over, Kinza. Anza.
Anza, right, that's good. Mr. Abbas Mirza, let's get right into it. Let's talk about your professional journey so far. I believe you've got tons of experience in the telecom sector in Pakistan.
Yeah, I've been around for a while. Yeah, and if you talk about the journey, I mean, Steve Jobs once said that you can only make sense of life once you start connecting the dots backward. So I mean, like if you had asked me in my teens or when I was in the university or anything that you would like to be a manager or a CEO at a tech company or something like that, that wouldn't be the answer that I would. Maybe I would like to fly a plane or something more exciting. But as life's has it, I would start that I come from an Air Force family, so one of the things that we were quite used to was going from one place to another. After every second year, my father got posted. So at a very young age, we got to know about change, how to adapt to change. So that really helped me in my later career as well. And then I joined NUST. And that also was quite I would say, quite an interesting story, actually. In the late 90s, when I got into the university, we really didn't have much of an exposure back then that what you really want to do in life. So everybody wanted to go into computers. So when I was filling up my form, I was like, computer engine sciences was number one, computer engineering was number two, electronics was number three, and so forth. So I had no knowledge about going into telecoms. But once I had filled that form for NUST, I just came to my father's study and I was flipping through a magazine. It was Times magazine. And I saw this advert of AT&T, which was a telecom operator in America. And I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. I was just killing time. So I just flipped on a couple of other pages. And then I saw this advert of Ericsson. And they had their communication systems and so forth. I said, well, things are moving in the West and stuff. And after a couple of pages, lo and behold, I was looking at a Motorola ad where one of my favorite golfer was one of their, the model over there, and he had the DC pager in his hand and so forth. And I was like, man, this telecom sounds really exciting. So I went back to my form and I just filled number one was telecom engineering. And that's how I got myself into telecom engineering. It was not nothing that actually, at the back of my mind that I always wanted to do, but that's how life, paves yourself. So ultimately, after doing my engineering,
Sorry, go on.
Yeah. After the engineering, then I got to go, and I was very blessed to be able to work for a very good telecom company called Nortel Networks back then. It was anybody's dream job to be in Nortel Networks. I was just lucky. I just got an internship over there. I made a lot of friends. I made a lot of good friends with my seniors and a lot of colleagues over there. And after my internship, I was offered a job. And the other thing that I kept doing at my job was that because, I was very easy to work around with. So I was posted from Islamabad to Karachi. So whenever there was an activity that they wanted to do at a certain station in Islamabad, so they didn't want to send an engineer all the way from Islamabad to Karachi or to the Sindh to do it. So they would ask me, I'm like, Abbas, could you go and do this for us? My department was data integration. So a guy coming up from the switching department would ask me to do something. And I said, well, why not? I'll go and do it for you. Some upgradations, some migrations and stuff like that. The radio guy would call me up and say, Abbas, would you just go to a site and upgrade this? I would go and do anything that I could do. So does the civil and so forth. So while doing that, then the next job that I got was at Flextronics, this is Relacom, where I am right now. And there my job was to manage a complete rollout. And that entailed to go and work with all these different departments, which I had already worked for. So I had a very good understanding of, how the rollout thing works. So that's how I got into this Relacom, which came back in 2004 into Pakistan as a services company. At that point of time, services was not such a thing that telecom operators would outsource much. They had a fleet of engineers and cars, and they used to do their own maintenance of their systems and so forth. But later on, I mean, like the companies like Relacom and other companies which came into Pakistan, then this trend changed, and then Relacom becomes a turnkey solution provider for the telecom industry. So the whole thing really helped me get to where I am now. And at that point of time, if you had asked me, I mean, like I wouldn't be able to tell you why, all these things are happening. But now it all makes sense.
Absolutely. What an inspiring journey. Now let's talk about your role as the CEO of Relacom. What exactly does it entail on a day-to-day basis?
Ooh, that's, well, every day brings its own challenges. But something about Relacom, I don't know whether you've seen it. I've been with this organization for about good 17, 18 years now. And still to find it exciting is quite, you might find it quite amusing, but it is. And the reason is that, in Relacom, we've seen a lot of changes happening. And one thing that, even if you talk to any of my colleagues, most of my colleagues are actually 10 years plus who have been with Relacom. And the reason is that we find it very exciting. There are always new stuff to do. I'm like, we started off with, civil construction. We did, system integration for telecos. And that there was one point of time when about a couple of years back when we thought, okay, we are in technology, we are system integrators. Then what is keeping us from going into the IT sphere of it and doing system integration there? And then we all sat together and said, yeah, let's give that a try. And when, and now 2 years after that, we have done about 5-6 data centers ourselves. We're maintaining a few data centers, and we're doing cybersecurity and e-learning and so forth. So every day brings something new, something challenging to the table. So it keeps you busy all day. I mean, like either firefighting is a part of, any business, but the innovation part of it is really, really very exciting for us.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk a little bit about your experience, decades worth of experience in the telecom sector in Pakistan. How do you view the evolution? What are the challenges and where do some of the opportunities lie?
Okay. So, I mean, you make me sound very old when you say, the dearth of experience and all that. But still, I mean, like what I've come to understand of the whole thing is, fortunately for the consumer, the telecom market is very good because it's very competitive and you get very good prices. Unfortunately for the business itself, for telecom operators, it's very difficult because now this voice and data has become something of a commodity. And the only way you can actually do better than the other is by going into a price fight, which is not always a good thing. And especially for our economy, in this kind of economy. So what we have observed, I mean, like you use your mobile for voice and data, so do I, everybody does. And we're all pretty, frustrated with the kind of call quality we get and, data disruption that we all get. And there's a reason for that. And although we can blame the operators, but on the other hand, if you look at it, it's very difficult for them to do business in this kind of a situation. For telecom operators, on their behalf, I would say that most of these organizations are owned by international investors. And their investment is in euros and dollars, and they want the return in the same way. But because of the depreciation of the Pakistani rupee, they're not able to get their return. So, and the whole economic situation and the political situation, and don't get me started on everything, it's become so unappetizing for them to be in this situation. And this is one of the reasons you don't see any more revolution coming into this. I mean, like, I sit down with people, and when they know I'm into telecom, the first thing they ask me is, when is 5G coming, and when is it all going to, be, and how technology savvy it's all going to become, and all that. And it breaks my heart telling them that I don't see it coming for the next maybe couple of years at the best. I mean, the reason is that the expectation of the government when they're doing the spectrum auction, that's way different from what the operators are willing to pay. I mean, like, the operators are saying that, we can't pay you the license fee in dollars when we are earning in rupees in Pakistan. So, and on the other hand, the government is hungry for funds. And back in 2004, when they did their auction, it was like they were expecting $100 million per license. They got 291 million because of the competition. Now it's not the same scenario anymore. So saying all of that, I mean, like it's a pretty difficult place to be, but for any business and these testing times, it's something very similar. So what I see is perhaps some kind of a consolidation, maybe. We've already seen Warid merging into Jazz.
Yes, yeah.
There might be another one. You never know. It might be around the corner.
Oh, wow. Are you giving us some insider news or a hint?
The interview needs to go be up for another hour to give you the complete picture.
Right, but we do appreciate, your recommendations and definitely for the insights. But here's the thing. We keep hearing about now, despite of being in the year 2022, we keep hearing that the internet and mobile penetration in Pakistan in particular is above 70-80%. Those are the figures that we keep hearing. Yet, I'm telling you this, I'm sitting in the red zone in Islamabad. This is as elite as it gets, as connected as it gets. I keep having signal drops. I use multiple networks, and this is unfortunately a predicament that's there throughout in our country. So do we not have any provider that can give us a seamless connection? Where do you see the loopholes? Is it because of a lack of infrastructure?
Well, it's a mixture of many things. I mean, at the end of the day, to be able to have that kind of network, you need to put in a lot of investment, and that is going to make it very expensive to sell. And then not many people would be able to buy that kind of a thing. So I'll give you a very small example. For instance, if you look at 5G, 5G is supposed to be very redundant. It's supposed to do very well and all that. At the moment, only I think it's less than 2% of the handsets in Pakistan, they can actually,
Yes,
work on 5G. Yeah. So, I mean, nobody's going to invest in that because at the end of the day, who's going to buy it? Similar thing actually comes up for 4G. Now, 4G has been around for, I think, 4 to 5 years now. But I was reading some stats a couple of days back, and it said that about still 50% of the mobile handsets in Pakistan are 2G. So they don't need them. So they're not using it. So they're not paying for it. So, investing in such an infrastructure becomes very difficult for the operator as well. Although I blame the operator all the time for, for this kind of service that we get. But ultimately, it all has to work. And one thing that can be a trigger to it would be cheap internet. And cheap internet means you don't tax the internet. Cheap internet means that you facilitate it. It's not a luxury anymore. It's a necessity.
Absolutely. And coming back to the point about, post-pandemic, we've seen this post the recent natural disasters with the floods. It is no longer a luxury. It is a necessity. We know that these are modern world problems that need technology-based solutions. And a large component of that has to do with your mobile connectivity and your internet data connectivity. Let's put internet connectivity on the side for a little while. And even if we talk about the basic mobile connectivity, we still see a large part of Pakistan that is facing digital inequality, digital divide, mobile inequality, cellular inequality. So I see that there has been a recent initiative that was taken, especially for the northern areas in terms of the ESCOM network. Are we going to be seeing such similar networks, or perhaps, like you mentioned earlier, mergers that are going to strengthen the overall coverage that we have throughout Pakistan?
Definitely. That's going to happen one way or another. One good initiative that I would say the government took a few years back was the establishment of this USF, Universal Services Fund.
Yeah.
So what they do is they go into these rural areas and they make it viable for the operators to deploy their network over there, and they give them incentives. There's a whole mechanism that works around it. And we have also deployed the networks for the likes of Zong and Jazz and Telenor and Ufone into these are very, very rural areas, like, at in Balochistan and Sarhad and so forth, and even interior Sindh. So that is one thing that is happening, and that's definitely going to help. And yes, you're right. Once there are going to be mergers, then what mergers usually bring in is kind of efficiency, and having that efficiency in place, it makes them easier or more affordable to go into other areas and invest in those areas as well. So as you said, definitely that's going to be a big player.
Right. Now, you did answer this question briefly earlier, but moving a little bit about your personal life, if you were not in your current role, meaning you weren't the CEO of Relacom, what do you see yourself as having done or, doing at this point in time?
I never thought about that. For a moment, as I mean, like I daydream a lot, but I never thought what I would be doing. I don't know. I maybe would be flying a F-16 or be a fighter pilot or something like that. I don't know. That's maybe that. Yeah.
Brilliant. But isn't it remarkable, the journey where life takes us? It's very, very unpredictable.
It is. It is.
So you work with quite a few young people. What would your advice be for these mid-career professionals?
Advice for young people. Well, one thing that I've learned working with young people, they seem to know everything. I mean, it's very difficult to tell them something and then they actually listen to you. And there's a reason for that. It's a different generation. I was again. Actually, this morning there was a discussion on BBC with the CEO of LinkedIn, and he was talking about Gen Z.
Yeah,
And they
Gen Z.
said that it was they had this churn of about 50% of people on LinkedIn were looking for new opportunities or were in the middle of something like that. The activity, 50% of the activity on LinkedIn was about that, and out of that, 90% were Gen Z, were the young ones. So you see, that's the way they are, and it's we need to adapt to it rather than we make them adapt to what the old way of thinking is. But in saying that, with experience comes a lot of clarity, and you can't actually blame the youngsters for jumping from one company to another. I mean, like it's you must have dealt in the IT sphere. We always talk about the churn rate and all that.
But my
That's a reality.
experience is in AI-based
Exactly. It's a
solutions.
reality. And with time, experience, the focus will come in and all so forth. So let them learn, and go through the process themselves, because every new opportunity looks very good, and it should not only be money based. That's what my advice to them would be, that look at it, experience and the values and so forth. Don't make your decision based on money, because there will be a time when you would look back and might say that if I should have taken a different path had I not gone for this opportunity. So that is what something
Absolutely. In the words of Sigmund Freud, if youth knew and if age could. So simple
nothing
words.
would be undone.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So, sir, since you mentioned LinkedIn, now, is there an interesting fact about you that we will not be able to judge or gauge from your LinkedIn profile? Anything that the audience would not already know?
There's not much on LinkedIn. I don't know, something on LinkedIn which is not on LinkedIn, and you would know. I don't know. I can do 300 push-ups a day. That's something.
Wow.
Yeah, that's something.
That's
You won't find that on LinkedIn.
Brilliant. All right. So here's the thing. Everyone during their professional life has some kind of mentor that they look up to. It could be one person, it could be two people. Did you have someone in your life that had that considerable impact in your long-term career growth?
Definitely. I've had a few, actually. I was lucky to work with some of the very, very intelligent and very amazing people in my life, and there have been actually a few. And I think everybody should look forward to. I mean, like, it doesn't mean that you start kind of make go crazy about the person and do whatever the person says is right, and start praying to him or something, like not of that sort. But again, wisdom comes with experience, and with the kind of knowledge that people have, and then you can extract that from them. So I've had a few in my life, yes. And the only thing is, if I don't name all of them, then some of them might feel bad. So I'm not taking any names here.
Okay, how about this? How about we point out one quality that was common in all of them?
What I've really learned from them, there's something that I learned from, and that's something that my one of my mentors said once, is that in my growth, and right now it's very, very relevant to the youngsters, that they see their growth is very rapid, and they go into a role where they're uncertain about themselves. They're not so confident that are they worthy of it, can they do it, and stuff like that. And I was in a situation like that once. My mentor said to me that sometimes you just need to assume the role, and it just comes to you. So that's something that I've learned from my mentor.
Profound words indeed. Sir, it's been an honor and a privilege. Thank you for sparing time for us today. And we learned quite a few things from you. Please keep contributing to the knowledge economy. But before I let you off for the day, there's one last question that I would like to ask you. What do you think is the utility of forums like CxO Global?
I think it's fabulous. I mean, really, I mean, like, where else would you find such kind of a forum where you can have such kind of knowledge sharing and the connectivity to be able to find the relevant people, what you're looking for, or something that you want to learn on. I mean, like a few days back, it's my bad. I mean, I've been with this platform for a couple of months now. And I've seen people asking questions about AI and how to connect to a certain person in a different industry and so forth. It's amazing, and I would actually like to be more active in this and increase my learning as we go forward. I'm really looking forward to it.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Abbas Mirza, for your time.
Thank you, Anza. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. Now, please keep us updated with your comments and feedback. Here's me signing off. See you next time.